Welcome back, focused learners. Ready for another explainer? Today, we are diving into something absolutely wild, the male reproductive system. But, we're not just going to look at standard anatomy today. Instead, I want you to picture a biological manufacturing plant. And this isn't just any factory. We're talking about a non-stop, highly advanced facility that operates 24/7. It's juggling microcellular biology, crazy complex fluid dynamics, and this incredibly precise chemical management system. So, just how big is this operation?
Okay, let's dive into this. 300 million. Yeah, you heard that right. That staggering number is the average amount of sperm produced by a healthy male reproductive system every single day. I mean, compare that to the female system, which usually releases just one single egg a month. The male system is literally defined by this massive, continuous, high-volume production. It's mind-blowing. So, to figure out exactly how the body pulls off this daily miracle, we need a bit of a roadmap.
Here's our game plan for today. First, we'll explore the biological factory. Second, spermatogenesis, which is basically the assembly line. Third, anatomy and sperm transport. Fourth, hormones, our central control center. And finally, health, aging, and maintenance. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, the biological factory. So deep inside the testes, you've got these coiled tubes called seminiferous tubules. Fun fact, if you uncoiled all of them, they'd stretch for hundreds of feet. And lining these tubes is the factory's ultimate security system, the blood-testis barrier. You can think of the Sertoli cells here as the factory's super strict quality control workers or maybe nursing nurses. They basically link arms, forming these tight junctions to create an impenetrable wall. Now, why on earth do they need a wall? Well, developing sperm cells only have half the normal genetic material. Because of that, your own immune system would actually look at them, think they're foreign invaders, and attack them. No way we want that. So the Sertoli cells make sure these vulnerable germ cells are totally protected from bloodborne pathogens and any friendly fire from your own immune system.
Moving right along to Section 2, spermatogenesis, the assembly line.
All right, so in medical jargon, this factory floor process is called spermatogenesis. Simply put, it's the constant transformation of raw stem cells into fully formed sperm right there inside those seminiferous tubules we just talked about. And what's truly incredible about this core assembly line is that it kicks in to give it puberty and then, well, it never really stops. But to actually manufacture a sperm cell, the body has to pull off a very unique trick with its DNA.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact genetic maneuver. See, normally, our cells divide by a process called mitosis. That's basically just photocopying the standard 46-chromosome blueprint to make an identical cell. Easy enough. But to create a reproductive cell, the factory has to use meiosis. Meiosis takes that genetic blueprint and perfectly halves it. The result? 4 completely unique haploid cells, each carrying exactly 23 chromosomes. This is absolutely crucial, because when this cell eventually merges with a female gamete, that resulting embryo needs to have the correct total of 46 chromosomes. It's perfect biological math.
Okay, so let's walk through the exact steps on this assembly line. We kick things off at step 1 with spermatogonia. These are your basic stem cells, just hanging out at the outer edge of the tubule. They divide into primary spermatocytes, and then they undergo that incredible meiosis process we just covered to become secondary spermatocytes. By step 4, they become spermatids. At this point, they've got the right DNA, sure, but they're still just these round, basic cells. Finally, in step 5, they undergo a massive physical transformation into spermatozoa, developing that highly distinct, familiar shape we all recognize.
Which brings us to Section 3, anatomy and sperm transport.
Now check out this timeline, because this process is definitely not instantaneous. From the very moment stem cell mitosis begins on day 1, it takes roughly 64 whole days just to get a formed sperm cell in the seminiferous tubule. And get this, they still aren't ready. At this stage, they literally can't move. They are entirely immotile. So they get pushed into this coiled structure sitting right on the back of the testes called the epididymis. And it's here, over the course of about 12 more days, bringing our total to roughly day 76, that they undergo vital maturation. This is basically where they go to learn to swim.
And wow, what a magnificent swimming machine they turn into. Let's break down the design. You've got the head, which securely holds that compact haploid DNA, and it's covered by this specialized acrosome cap. That cap is packed with the enzymes it needs to physically penetrate an egg. Then there's the midpiece, which is just completely packed tightly with mitochondria to generate ATP energy. And finally, the tail, or flagellum, acting as a super powerful outboard motor. To put this in perspective, the total volume of this cell is 85,000 times less than a female gamete. I mean, it is completely stripped of all excess baggage, engineered perfectly for one single job, the highly efficient delivery of genetic material.
So how does the product actually get delivered? Let's trace the exact anatomical shipping route. The journey kicks off down in the testes, moving over to the epididymis for that storage and maturation phase we just talked about. Then, during sexual arousal and ejaculation, these really strong muscle contractions essentially launch the sperm up into a long muscular tube called the vas deferens. From there, it travels way up into the pelvic cavity, merges into the ejaculatory ducts, and ultimately exits the body through the urethra.
Let's see how this builds during that journey, because here's a key distinction. Sperm alone is not semen. As they travel along the shipping route, these accessory glands jump in to add absolutely crucial survival fluids. First up, the seminal vesicles dump in fructose. Yep, basically sugar fuel to power those mitochondria, making up to 80% of the fluid. Then, the prostate gland kicks in, adding this milky alkaline fluid that thickens things up, nourishes the sperm, and most importantly, protects them from the highly acidic environment of the female reproductive tract. Lastly, the bulbourethrial glands secrete a clear, lubricating fluid to neutralize any leftover acidic urine in the urethra. It's only when all of these components are perfectly mixed together that you finally have semen.
All right, moving into Section 4, hormones, the control center.
Let's quickly break down this whole endocrine control center because it really operates like a corporate hierarchy. Up at the very top, in your brain, the hypothalamus is sitting in the corner office acting as the CEO. It releases GnRH, which is essentially sending chemical memos down to the pituitary gland. Now the anterior pituitary steps in as middle management. It gets the memo and releases LH and FSH. Finally, those hormones travel all the way down to the testes, specifically targeting our Leydig and Sertoli cells, the factory floor managers. The Leydig cells pump out testosterone, which is what actually drives spermatogenesis, muscle development, bone growth, and of course, libido.
So the crucial point is, how does the body keep this whole system from just spiraling totally out of control? Well, it uses this brilliant auto-regulating mechanism called a negative feedback loop. Honestly, it works exactly like the thermostat in your living room. When testosterone levels get high enough in the bloodstream, that testosterone actually travels back up to the brain and says, hey, we've got plenty of product down here, slow it down. The brain gets the message, pauses the release of GnRH and LH, and waits until levels drop again. It keeps everything in absolutely perfect balance.
Finally, Section 5, health, aging, and maintenance. Let's talk about the everyday realities of maintaining the system. Now, even though production is technically continuous, sperm counts do slowly start to decline after a guy hits 35, and lifestyle choices, they play a massive role. Things like smoking can significantly lower sperm counts and motility, no matter how old you are. And while the testes don't just suddenly shut down one day, hormone production can decline subtly starting around 45 and then much more dramatically after 70. This is exactly why proactive system maintenance is huge. Doing regular testicular self-exams and keeping up with prostate screenings, especially once you hit 50, are absolutely essential for long-term health.
Which brings us to a final pretty provocative thought to wrap up our explainer today. Does the male biological clock actually tick? Well, you hear terms like male menopause thrown around in the media, but biologically speaking, it's a bit of a myth. See, a woman's ovaries will eventually stop producing eggs and hormones entirely. But in males, while testosterone might naturally drop off and sperm volume can certainly decrease, a healthy male reproductive system can literally continue to successfully manufacture new sperm well into a man's 80s. No way, right? It truly is a lifelong biological factory. I really hope this structured journey has helped you grasp the incredible mechanics of the male reproductive system. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.